Perfect. Alrighty, so I think we are good to go with that. So hello again, my name is Simone Jackson. I'm the coordinator for first year experience here at UCLA, and we are really excited to have you all here on our panel. So this is the very first time that we've ever done anything from the institution at UCLA specifically for students from rural areas and small towns. So we welcome you here. We have some amazing panelists who are UCLA current students, and we're really excited for you all to hear their stories and for them to answer your questions. So before we get started, I just want to give you a few housekeeping rules. So we will have all of our guests, meaning you, outside of the panelists, to keep their video off and to stay muted so that there's no distractions in terms of sound or video, as well as there is a chat box. And so I highly encourage you to ask questions in the chat box. You are welcome to ask everyone out loud, or if you have a specific question for a panelist or for one of the students, you feel free to chat them as well. But know that most likely everyone has the same question as you. So we highly encourage that. We'll also be in the chat cheering each other on, and so it'll be a great time. So I am going to stop rambling and hand it off to Sarita, who will be our moderator for this event.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much, Simone, for introducing the panel. As Simone mentioned, I am the moderator for today's panel. All of us panelists, we're going to start by giving a quick introduction of ourselves, and then we'll get into the questions that we have for tonight prepared for you. And then we're going to be in a Q&A time where all of you will have the opportunity to just either type in your questions or turn off your mic and ask them. So really quickly, let's start with introductions. So for all the panelists, let's do our names, our pronouns, our major and year that we are at UCLA, and then lastly, where we're from. So I'll start out. My name is Sarita. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a statistics major, math minor at UCLA, and I'm in my 4th year, so graduating in 2 weeks. I'll be working at the RAND Corporation in August after graduating. And I am from St. Mary's County, Maryland, which is very small.
Hi, you guys. I'm Bella. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm from a small town called King of Prussia. It is too small, but we got a lot of trees, a lot of farms. Feels pretty small, and everyone knows each other. It's right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm a first year, actually, and I am a theater major in acting emphasis, but currently studying lighting design. So, and welcome. Congratulations on your acceptance.
Hi, my name is Kathy. I am a 3rd year psychology major here. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm from Mountain Lakes, New Jersey.
Hi, I'm Sakshi. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a 2nd year global studies major, and I'm from Anderson, South Carolina.
Hi everyone, my name is Kenya. I am a biophysics major. I'm a 1st year. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am from Visalia, California.
Thanks so much, everyone. So for our first question today, to start off, many students describe UCLA as a culture shock once coming to UCLA, especially from a rural area or small town. So to our panelists, what was your transition like moving from your area to UCLA? Did you experience a culture shock as well? And how, through all that transition, did you stay true to your hometown throughout that?
All right, hi you guys. I'm gonna start us off. So like I said before, I'm from a town called King of Prussia. We have the biggest retail mall in America, which means we have the mall with the most stores because there's literally nothing else to do. It's like our central, besides like a little ice cream farm. So that's all you got. It's pretty fun, I mean, but if you grow up there and you're just used to having 2 places to go, then you got 2 places to go, and that's what it is. It's not the case here in LA. So I went to public school growing up. And this public school had mainly population of people coming from Philly or coming out of the area and moving to a cheaper area or just a safer area. And so most of my friends growing up were of African-American heritage, Indian heritage, and also Caucasian heritage, but most so in the African-American heritage. So huge culture shock coming here because the diversity is so strong. There's just so many. My best friend that I've met since coming to UCLA is a Haitian Panamanian singer. It's like the strangest like combination, but I love it. That's like one of the big I guess ethnicity culture shocks of coming to UCLA, but also in a standpoint of faith and religion, and also just conservatism. I went to a private school, Episcopalian private school for 2 years that was very conservative and very not into my ideas of becoming an actress and being a theater and doing all these crazy performances. And they knew I was good. You couldn't deny that, I kind of shoved it in their face. But it's kind of looked down upon. So me and my mom packed up our entire house in a car and drove across the country. And all of them told us that we're crazy and we're going to be homeless and die. And I got into UCLA, so I'm not too concerned about that now. So I really want to emphasize on just the importance of having an open mindset when coming here, because everyone will for you too. It's such an accepting school and it's so diverse and it's so interesting. And if you're curious at all about getting to know people, this is the place to do it. So just even if you come from a place yourself where your ideas and beliefs may be more conservative or just different, I think this is the opportunity to test that, to change them, to stay with those beliefs, to understand them deeper on your personal level. But there's no expectations here for who you have to be except working hard. That's the only rule of being at UCLA. So welcome, guys. Yay.
I also faced a kind of similar, a different culture shock because I'm from the South. I grew up my whole life in the South, and so there's definitely a different culture in the South than in Los Angeles. There's Southern hospitality is definitely real, Southern food, even just like mannerisms, like saying yes ma'am or yes sir when you speak to an adult, things that are not as needed in Los Angeles, or even like can be seen as weird if I said yes ma'am in Los Angeles. So initially that was kind of difficult for me to realize and get used to. But I think like most of my cultural unrest was settled by like finding a community at UCLA. And I think it was helpful for me to think of UCLA kind of like a small town as well. UCLA and Westwood is kind of in like a bubble in that it doesn't feel so much like you're in a huge city. It's really like a community of people, and living on the hill, it's like my roommate might know someone who's in my club, who might know someone who is on the same floor as me, and it's really easy to build connections that way. And I also joined a bunch of clubs. I even like started an organization for out-of-state students called the Out-of-State Student Association. Very creative name. Because most UCLA students are from California, it's really helpful to find like a community of people who have the same kind of issues as you, or the same kind of uneasiness. And so finding out-of-state students like me who kind of face the same problems and like homesickness as me was really, really helpful. And I think you could probably find a similar home away from home in like a cultural organization or like any sort of organization on campus. But I know Out-of-State Student Association was really good for me. So yeah, just finding a community on campus really eases homesickness, and it makes you appreciate home when you get to go back.
Thanks so much. For our second question, what are some small or unexpected things that you missed from your hometown area, like local stores or cuisine? And then how did you find or create that at UCLA?
So I'm from New Jersey, so we have we're really known for bagels, like New York, New Jersey bagels. So I've been really missing bagels a lot. And there's this thing in New Jersey that's called Taylor ham. It's called pork roll in the South, but I'm from the North, so we call it Taylor ham. So I always get a Taylor ham, egg and cheese on a plain bagel. You can add salt, pepper, and ketchup, but I think that's just too salty for me. But everyone in New Jersey loves it. It's Taylor ham's kind of like Canadian ham, and they grill it on a grill, and they put a fried egg on top with American cheese, and it's just really melty and delicious. I've yet to find a good bagel here in California. I worked at a dining hall where they had bagels, and it just wasn't the same. I tried making a bacon, egg, and cheese. It was just too small. It wasn't as soft. I've been really meaning to try Noah's Bagels out here in Westwood, but because of COVID, I haven't been able to go out because actually Noah's is right where I work. So, but I'm really hoping to try it because I've heard it's really similar to New York bagels. And then in terms of food, I do miss Dunkin' as well. I know it's a big chain, but hearing on the West Coast, Starbucks rules. Out on the East Coast, you find a Dunkin' on every street. And so I have actually postmated Dunkin' a couple of times just for an iced tea and donuts because I've just really, really miss it. I don't really drink coffee that much actually, but I just really like iced tea and donuts. And then I do also miss just being able to drive anywhere with ease. In LA, there's just so much traffic. It took me one time over an hour to drive 1 mile just to get to the airport. But in New Jersey, you drive 1 hour, you get to another state. So I've definitely just missed no cars on the road. Every time I come to LA, always traffic. I'm always just sitting there really tired in the car. So I think that's hindered me a little bit from going out in LA. But when I do, I like to try to go at odd hours so that I can skip all the traffic and I don't have to so I'm not seeing cars just inching forward ever so slightly. And finally, what I've also missed is trees and seasons because in LA it is 24/7 summer. I am wearing shorts in December and November, and I think that's just really odd because I'd gotten a dog actually over winter break. So it snowed back home, so my mom sent me a video of my dog running around in the snow, and I just thought that I really missed it because you get all dressed up in your boots and your heavy winter jacket and start shoveling the driveway. So I've really missed that, and trees because UCLA has a lot of trees, but LA in general does not have many trees, and the air is just not as clean because of it. So I just miss being able to walk around and step on the little crunchy leaves everywhere that fall down. So I definitely missed all of those from home.
Hi everyone, so my name's Kenya and I'm from Central Valley. And so pretty much the biggest thing that I miss actually is not really my town, but my family and being with my family. I'm really close to my mom. I've always had a really close connection to her. And so when I went to UCLA and I had to start learning how to be on my own without my parents, it was kind of a little bit of a shock and a little bit of a cause of stress for me because I was just so used to it. And so what I had to do was learn how to be without my mom. And one of the first things that I did was just try to replicate what I used to do at home with my family. So I would go out to stores or restaurants and just window shop or do anything that I used to do with my mom and my siblings. But it kind of just wasn't the same. And I was I need to find something that is really gonna help me get over this homesickness. And so luckily for me, there's this huge, and luckily for everyone else, there's this huge thing called Bruin Walk at UCLA where a lot of flyers and people are just everywhere and they're just handing out a lot of information about their clubs and organizations. And so I tend to walk down this Bruin Walk a lot because I just want to see what's out there and I want to expose myself to new organizations and new things. And one of the things that I ended up finding was the University Catholic Church. I grew up Catholic did all my sacraments, everything like that, but I wasn't really into church until like I started going to UCLA, and I noticed that there was a huge community of students who were of the Catholic faith, and they were going to church every single Sunday. And so I started to go, and I really enjoyed it. It made me feel whole, it made me feel complete, it made me feel just like spiritually just like balanced. And I realized that like, oh, I don't really need my mom. If I just like have church and like I'm keeping up with everything that I used to do at home, I can like find my new normal here at UCLA. And that's what I really appreciated, just being able to regroup spiritually and being able to like find a deeper connection to my religion. And like, who would have thought that like at college I'm going to be finding a deeper connection to my religion? But it ended up happening because I don't know, I just decided to explore something that I knew that I was connected to, but at a deeper level. And so I really highly encourage like a lot of people to like go out there and just like make it a mission to find what you need to like make sure that you are secure and that you feel safe and that you feel good about yourself. So like even that doesn't have to be like going to church. That could be literally like if you need something to relax, like finding a coloring book and just like doing like an hourly coloring session every single day or something like that. But like I really think that it's important that you keep your mental health in check and that like you keep yourself like you make yourself your priority, because I know like at UCLA grades are really stressful and like school is stressful in general. But like if you find something where you can just like take a break from all of that and escape, then it's really good.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kenya and Kathy. For our last question, right before we get into the rest of the time, which will be for any questions from all of you, we just have, for all the panelists, what is something that you wish that you knew when you were the oncoming student to UCLA? So I'll just start us off. I have 3 quick things that I want to say to everyone. First, try everything and let yourself grow in this time. Second is take the time before school starts now to think about who you are and who you want to be. And then last, third, root for yourself. So first, try everything and let yourself grow. As many of the other panelists know, there's tons of communities at UCLA, and that means that whatever you might be interested in, you can find other people who have that interest, find some club or organization around it, or as Sakshi did, you could create your own group, and I'm sure that others will have that same interest, and you can grow a community that way. It's totally okay in this time to do something for a little bit, even for like a quarter, 2 quarters, a year, and then just move on to something else. Anytime, I think me growing up in a rural area, it felt like there weren't too many options, or you're just searching, trying to keep yourself, or I felt like I was searching, trying to keep myself busy, but getting here, there's just so many ways that I could grow. And I tried things that I never even thought I would be interested in. So as I think someone else mentioned, being open-minded to how you might grow as a person is just awesome. And some really quickly, some of the clubs that I've been a part of since I've been here have ranged from being active on my residential dorm floor to being part of an organization that was about my race and ethnicity, to writing satire for a campus satire magazine, to active organizations like rock climbing and salsa dancing. So everything, really everything you could possibly want is here. The second thing is about taking the time before school starts to think about who you are and who you want to be. I think a big part of that was different coming from a rural place to UCLA is that I didn't know anyone coming from my high school or my hometown to college. And as many other people talk about with coming to college, it's like an opportunity to be whoever you want to be. So one beauty of coming from a small town is that, you know, everyone knows you and can support you and your family, and, you know, is there for you on a more personal level when things get tough, like the whole community helping each other out. And maybe something that also happens is that since everyone just is who they are growing up, we just tend to fall into these boxes of who we were maybe in like third grade. And that's the person who we just continue to be up until, I guess, we move and leave. And so I found it difficult to try new things and be someone new in my hometown. But the person who I was growing up was always that student who was really, really into school and just really focused and even a little snarky. I was really sarcastic growing up. And I think because I just was younger and hadn't really developed so much empathy yet as we do as adults, then I didn't realize how like being sarcastic all the time kind of came across as being actually kind of mean. And so I started to realize that in maybe like 11th, 12th grade, but at that point it's too late. You're just still the same person who you were from elementary school. And so then when I came to UCLA, I made a point to think I'm going to be different when I come here, because this deep down isn't who I am. I'm not really that mean or anything. I care about people a lot. So anyway, so I made a point to just change my behavior before I came to school and can just be whoever you want, because everyone that you meet is new. Last, really quickly, rooting for yourself. So again, in the small town, like everyone knows you and can support you and look out for you and your family. And that can be a really beautiful thing. But here at UCLA, it's really different. And yes, you will be able to find that community that supports you and feels like home. But also at the end of the day, it's really important to look out for yourself, because no one is rooting for you. Or, okay, sorry. At the end of the day, you need to be rooting for you, because it's not like someone's just looking around to make sure that you're okay. I mean, it takes a bit to find those good friends who are, and it's important to root for yourself with like your academics, your professional life. Yeah. So I'll pass it on now to other people on the panel who'd like to comment about this.
Hi, it's Bella. So I'm going to talk a little bit more financial side. So as in TFT, which is Theater, Film, and Television, which is the school here at UCLA, we're pretty tiny, so a lot of people don't know the acronym. But we don't have a lot of textbooks. We have a lot of plays, but a lot of plays are available digitally, or we have them in stock, and the teachers photocopy them for us. So I had this like, oh, great, I'm spending very little on textbooks, not really calculating in that a lot of things are going to cover those costs that would have been textbooks. I had to end up paying for a lot of Ubers to go see shows. I had to pay for the student tickets for those shows. And depending on your major, I really want to emphasize on doing a little research and just in general setting aside a little extra money for when you come here, especially when you don't have the support of your parents, when they can't cook you dinner or wash your laundry for you on a bad day. You really sometimes might need like a grocery a trip that you can buy yourself a few nice things, and it really does make you feel better. So having some money saved up before you come and start your year just for whatever you may need is like just the best advice that I can. Don't always listen to what they list on your tuition estimate. Always have a little extra for yourself. But yeah, congratulations guys. Thank you so much for listening to me. I appreciate it.
For me, I definitely thought in high school, when I got here, I thought that college would be very much like high school. I kind of like just cruised through high school, not really doing a lot of work, didn't really read a lot of books, and still managed to somehow get decent grades and get into UCLA. So I took that mentality with me when I got here. And then my first year, I was taking classes and I was like, oh, this is going to be really easy. I know the material. Like I learned this in high school. Like I'm not going to really need to study. And then I didn't really like do that well on tests as well as I like thought I would have wanted to do. And then I realized like I do actually have to try in college. Like what you learn in high school is not really similar to what you learn in college. So I struggled a lot. I like got a lot of really poor grades in my classes, especially when I was trying to figure out what like I wanted to major in. And so that kind of transitions well to my other advice, would just be like, go to professor and TA office hours. They're helpful. My first 2 years, I thought they weren't that helpful. I was too lazy to go walk to their offices and find them. And honestly, I didn't know what I didn't know when I was sitting in class. It wasn't until I got to the exam that I was like, wow, I don't know what I'm doing. But then this year, because of COVID and everything, that everything is online, I was able to go to more office hours really easily. And I have this one class where we read paper critiques, and that's the majority of our grade. And I thought I wasn't going to do well because I don't know how to read a scientific article. I've never done anything that's sciencey before. But then I went to office hours actually for my TA, and then that really helped because she was able to go through the questions and be like, this is what I'm looking for in each of these questions. And she kind of clarified like what the papers were talking about. And I ended up doing better than I thought. So I did definitely say go to office hours. They also, the TAs do grade your papers as well. So if you can find out what they want, then you can like do those tweaks like in your papers and then get a good grade. So definitely go to office hours, and college is much harder than I thought it would be.
My tip is kind of like what Sarita was saying, in that when you're growing up in a small town, it can feel like there is judgment, or even if not judgment, like everyone is observing you. So it feels like you can't change anything about who you are. And I think that it's important to think about like college is a time where you can be very flexible with yourself and where a lot is going to change and you can grow. And so with that, I would encourage you to take classes outside of your major. A lot of times, like some of my favorite classes have just been things that I've taken just because I'm interested in the topic. Like you're really not confined to your major. And also it's okay to change your major. You don't have to stick with what you came in as. And also like kind of similarly, feel free to join like a ton of clubs when you first enter UCLA. Like I found that it's a really good way to make friends, and even if you don't stick with a club, like even if you're just in it for 2 weeks, it's a good way to explore different things that it's like maybe I might be interested in this. And even if you're not, it's okay to drop the club and maybe you'll meet a friend or two in it. And I think my final tip is just like, don't stop going to class. Like going to class is so important, and it's honestly the best thing you can do for your grade, like the easiest thing you can do to keep your grades up. And once you start skipping, it's just impossible to stop, and it's a really bad habit. So go to class.
So I guess the advice that I have for incoming freshmen is make sure that before you come into UCLA, you kind of look into the types of clubs that you're leaning towards, whether it's for your career or for just like recreation. I know for me, I didn't really do a lot of background research on clubs or societies or internships or actual faculty research available at UCLA. And so when I came in, I was kind of just like, whoa, what? I was just like exploring so many different opportunities and options. But I feel like if you do that a little bit beforehand, you can create a better plan for yourself over the next 4 years, especially if you want to go into higher education and things like that, because it's kind of like when you enter college, you're restarting everything that you accomplished in high school. Like you're not going to have the same letters of recommendation anymore. You're not going to have the same amount of volunteer hours or anything. Like everything restarts when you enter college. So I highly recommend that like you look into like what you want to do as far as your career. You don't have to make up your mind, but like try to like do things that will help you build skills and that will help you build up your resume so that you do look like a valuable candidate when you do end up applying for internships and things like that. I'm a part of this program called the Academic Advancement Program. It has so many different resources for like applying for scholarships or academics and counseling. And one of the best resources that they have is this thing called PLFs, which are peer learning facilitators. And so they're basically like tutors for you for whatever class. It's usually for like a lot of like lower division classes, but these tutors can like they can mean a lot, especially if you feel like you need a little bit more help in math or a little bit more help in physics. I wish that I signed up for these tutors starting my first quarter, just so that I could have a little bit more solid foundation in my classes like chemistry and math. But I finally ended up signing up for one this quarter, and I love it so much. Like, he's so smart, he knows so many things, and like I can just talk to him about anything. And so it's like almost a gateway also to mentorship, which is another thing I wanted to touch on. Like making sure that like you try to find a role model at UCLA. You see they're like a faculty member, a peer, or like an alumni, and you can find all kinds of different like mentorship programs through either like clubs or like the actual like alumni scholar society or scholar club, and like they have an entire networking app where you just like log in and like try to figure out like different alumni that you can connect with. And so I highly recommend just trying to find some type of mentor that can like help you along the way, because it's always important to have someone who like has a lot of knowledge about like either your major or like the career path that you want to go into. So that's like a lot of the lessons I learned this year.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your answers. We wanted to open up the floor right now to any of you who have questions. You're free to ask them through the mic, or if you just want to send them in the chat, then I can read them out to the whole group. Okay, we had a question in the chat.
I
Does
can
it
take
happen
this one.
often? Oh, okay. Does it happen often that you cannot get into a class that you want to because of high demand? Yeah, go for it, Bella.
Sorry. Yeah. So I am not familiar with biostatistician, but maybe someone else will be able to talk more about that. But for me, this is specific if you're working in a field where you have a specific emphasis, like maybe technician. I don't know if that's the same thing at UCLA. When in your specific emphasis, there are classes that are reserved for you, and those ones should have enough heads or seats to fill everyone that is in that emphasis. But a lot of the times, especially for GEs, which are classes not necessarily established specifically for you, then it is going to be a lot harder. But then again, it really depends on the quarter, because different classes are offered at different quarters, and some are more popular than others. So yeah, it really just depends on what class, and it really does vary. And I don't know if anyone wants to also add in their info on that.
Oh, you can go first.
Okay, I was just gonna say that, freshman year, it is kind of difficult to get classes because you're kind of at the bottom of the barrel. You have the worst enrollment times. But that being said, mostly everyone graduates in 4 years, and you will get the classes that you need to get done. But enrollment can be kind of stressful. So I think when you're choosing classes, just have a ton of backup options. If you know it's a very popular class, then have like 5 backups, have like 10 backups. Like, you can't have too many backups. And the thing is, when you're a freshman, you have the worst enrollment times, but it's also that you have the most classes that you still have to take. So you have a bunch of classes that you're like, okay, well, I would like to take stats 10, but if not, I can take this other GE, or I can take this, or I can take a major related class, and you have lots of options. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but it can be stressful. But saying that, it only gets better the better enrollment times you get. Like, the older you get, the better times you get.
I wish that was the case for me, honestly. I'm still a third year and I've barely gotten into some of my classes. It depends on the major as well. Like, my roommate has a major where they have to do their classes, their upper division classes, in a certain series, so that it is like reserved for them and only them, and then like you're kind of sort of guaranteed. But with mine, like, even though it is reserved for like psychology majors, I've still had some issues just because of like class sizes and things like that, but they give you so many options to choose from in terms of classes. So like you're always going to find one to take. I've struggled to get into classes, but I'm still able to graduate like a quarter early. So it's totally doable. Again, like everyone else said, have a lot of options and backups. It gets a little scary on your class planner, which is where you see all your classes and like the schedule of it, but definitely always have backups. And it also really just depends on your major as well.
Thank you all so much. I just wanted to add really quickly to all of your answers with course planning. I think you mentioned making a bunch of backup plans for all of your schedules, and it feels really overwhelming at the beginning having like 8 course plans. But I think everyone at UCLA and just college in general gets used to doing that with all the options. And then the other thing is, I don't know if any of you got this advice, but there seems to be this emphasis that they tell you to like do all your GEs within the first 2 years. Did anyone hear that?
Don't do that.
Don't do
I've
that.
heard it. Don't do it.
Yeah, I think they talked about that when I was first coming into UCLA. Like, try to do all your GEs in the first 2 years because then you get to learn about what you like. Well, I don't really completely agree with that because I think what you should do to learn what you like is the prereqs for the major that you're potentially interested in. And if those prereqs happen to be a GE, and many majors have a lot of GEs as their prereqs, then that's awesome. Of course, they count for your major prereqs and they count for your GEs. But if you're potentially, let's say you're like potentially interested in being a like anthro major, then like take the prereqs for the anthro major. If you hate it, you probably want to switch majors. So yeah, that's the other thing that I recommend. And I do agree that getting into courses is difficult. Another quick thing I want to add is the wait list. If you get on the wait list, just hold it out because a lot of people do drop. And if you're really adamant about emphasizing to the professor that you're really interested in the class and you're still interested in it and blah, 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 sometimes they'll let you in. Yeah. Okay. We had another question.
Address, there was a question.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry.
Or Yuvika?
Yes. Is it important that before joining a particular club, you should really know the skill, or can you just start learning it there? Ooh, that's a great question. Does anyone want to?
Yeah, I have an experience.
Okay.
So this year I came in as a freshman, and I was at the big activities fair, or the enormous activities fair. That's what it's called. And there's a lot of things going on. There's also like this side thing where a lot of club sports go on. They like have booths on the track and field. And so I went to that to see if I wanted to join a club sport. And I ended up joining club sailing. I have never sailed before in my entire life, but I joined because they said that they were going to teach us and that they welcome newcomers. And I was like, okay, I'm going to learn this new skill. And so a lot of people always ask me, like, why did you join sailing? And I really don't have an answer for it. I just did it off of a whim. And I'm so glad that I did it because it was an opportunity for me to meet new people who are very, very interesting, to go traveling around California. Over the weekends, we've been to like Cal Poly and like San Diego and a lot of other like areas like Long Beach and things like that. So I highly encourage, if like you want to stay active in a club sport, and you want to like travel around and get to know more of California, then joining a club sport is definitely a good thing. And they're so like, you don't really need to have the skills when you enter because there's going to be people there who are really experienced and they're super welcoming and inviting and they want you to learn more.
I can also answer this question really quickly. There are some clubs that they kind of say like, oh, you can join if you don't have prior experience, but really you do. Like there's some dance teams that like you just have to be really good already to be on them. That's just how it is. That's totally fine. But then there are others, like Kenya was mentioning, where they'll teach you and you'll learn and pick it up and all of that. There's also some clubs. Okay, this totally blew my mind. But when I came to UCLA, I was like, okay, I applied to college. The application part is done. I got accepted. And I can just do whatever I want. And then those clubs that you have to apply to get into, it just blew my mind. I had no idea about that. I think there's a lot of like pre-med and consulting clubs like this, or like dance ones have auditions, or like the acapella teams and anything. Anyway, there are clubs like that, and that totally blew my mind. And I was so tired of applying to things, but anyway, applying to things is a part of life, and we're gonna have to just keep doing it over and over and respect the grind. So, yeah, you may have to apply to clubs. And one quick thing about that, it's not if you find a club that you really love, but then you apply and then don't get in, it's totally okay. I'm pretty sure that there will be a club that's very similar that you can also join or try to apply again the next year, or just find something else, because there's so many things to do here.
I just saw that Riley had like a question about the whole graduating early situation thing, and just definitely would depend on your major. I was switching between two really short majors, like economics and psychology, and I know that like a lot of times like people end up either double majoring or minoring because they do not have enough units to graduate, because you have to have a certain number of like upper division units in order to graduate. And I know sometimes there's like your AP credits or whatever don't transfer over. Like it depends if you have AP credit or like community college credit. So I know sometimes like even if you want to graduate early, like you kind of can't, just because you need to have some sort of like you have to have a certain number of credits. But I like had actually went to go to the college academic counseling office in one of the buildings, Murphy Hall, and I talked to the person sitting at the front desk, sort of like the front desk window, and because I was thinking of graduating like 2 quarters early instead of staying like the full 4 years. And what he told me, it was just like, it really all depends on you. He actually had graduated 2 quarters early, and he said that he didn't think it helped him in terms of like the job market or anything. Like he ended up being unemployed for like the next 6 months until he finally got a job. So I think it all really depends on how you feel, how your parents feel, like what you think is the best decision for you. Say like, especially if it's a money situation where you're having trouble paying for tuition. But also it does depend on your major and how you arrange your classes, because you can take like 4 or 5 classes a quarter and really pound them all out and then get it over with, but you will be struggling a little bit because it is like 4 or 5 classes a quarter. But definitely depends on your person, is what I believe.
Yeah, I would say I think it depends on your major too. Like I'm a global studies major, and I know like people either add a minor or they just graduate early. And as an out-of-state student, I also know it's like crazy expensive. And so if you do want to save like $60,000 and graduate early, like it definitely makes financial sense. So I think if graduating early is something that you want to do, you definitely can do it. It just requires planning and thinking ahead. And actually summer sessions, I don't know if you are out of state or not, but summer sessions you pay in-state tuition, so you can cut costs there too. But I think there are really great counselors at UCLA, just talking to your advisor and planning out your 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, really quickly, I'll just add to what other people said with graduating early. It depends a lot, of course, but if you can do it and want to, especially if you're out of state and need about the financials and everything, yeah, definitely go for it. As other people mentioned, the summer is a great time to catch up on some classes if you need to. And I've heard that they're actually easier than during the school year. I've actually never taken them, but anyway, in case any of you wanted to know.
I'm taking one this summer, so I will get back to you on that.
I think a lot of people, pretty much everyone, I think, has like their own Excel sheet or just like on paper with planning out all four or less, more 4 years and all 3 quarters, what it could look like. And then for me personally, that plan has changed every single quarter based on what I've gotten into or how my interests have changed based on like, oh, I'm gonna add this major or minor. And then I was like, now I actually want to do something else. So I would recommend that. And then especially paying attention to classes that are only offered at specific times. Maybe there's like a class that's required for a major that is only offered winter quarter. So, okay, like you have to put that right there. I think it's, in addition to graduating early, it's also totally okay to take quarters off. I've had friends do that for personal reasons or health reasons, and it's okay. Everyone's on their own path, own journey. And also another thing I want to add is taking quarters off potentially for work if you get some sort of opportunity that comes up. So having work experience when you graduate is actually super, super valuable. And that's in addition to internships that you may have over the summer. So let's say you have some internship over the summer and you want to continue it into the fall quarter, or and you're able to do that within your course plan, like that may actually be an amazing thing, because then you'll come back to class and everything will be so much more meaningful because you already know this is what I need to know for out in the field. And then when you graduate, you're not just going to have, like, I'm a college grad with 0 years of work experience. Then you might have 1 year of work experience that you can really talk about in interviews, and that's actually super, super important. And some places don't even accept new grads, so then you're getting yourself out of the new grad category and into the intro category. But that's very further down. But basically, all things are possible, and don't have to completely stick to just like school during the fall, winter, spring quarter. You can do summer stuff. You can take quarters off. You can work, whatever needs to happen. Let's see really quickly if we have any other questions. We'll just do 1 or 2 really short ones, and then we'll wrap up for today. So we have 2 questions in the chat. 1, how did you arrange your class schedule, especially your first year? Any tips? So if anyone wants to answer that. And then also, was it difficult to understand the entire curricula? So if anyone wants to speak to that, please go.
I can talk about it. So I think with arranging your class schedule, leave time for breaks. I think either leave some space in the middle for lunch, or plan your classes so that you can eat before class and then when you get back to your dorm afterwards. I also think usually people at UCLA take 3 or 4 classes a quarter. So definitely starting with 3 classes your freshman year. Don't try to push it too much. Like, give yourself some time to adjust. And then with the curriculum, I don't know what the Indian system is like, except from hearing from my parents. But I think that college in general, basically, what you're gonna do is you have requirements within your major of classes that you have to take, and then usually there's some sort of order that they have to go. Like, you have to take this math before you can take the next one, or this chemistry before you can take the next one. And so your freshman year, you'll just start with like the very basics of everything that you'll end up learning. These are usually the prerequisites of your major, and you can also do some GEs. And also UCLA has some like requirements that you have to take. Like, you have to take a writing requirement for, I think, most UCLA majors, or there's like a math requirement for most UCLA majors. So just getting those kind of preliminary things out of the way initially. And then once you're there, you'll get the hang of it very quickly, I'm sure.
Sarita, did you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we'll just do this last one really quickly and then wrap it up. Do you have any recommendations for people who don't exactly know what they want to major in but have a lot of interests. Has anyone designed their own major? Is that difficult? If anyone has any last comments, and then we'll wrap up for today.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's really crucial to test the waters in each kind of different spectrum, go in the arts, get in the maths, get in the sciences, like get in the English, like test it all out. Because you'll know, just start Xing things out. You're like, oh no, definitely not that, definitely not that. And it's going to kind of, you're saying like designing your major, that's how you're going to kind of do it, I think. Just kind of cutting things out that you don't want and finding things so that you do want will design the major. And it's so amazing that you're at UCLA and you get to create a complex major or get to double major and minor and all these like wonderful different topics. So yeah.
Okay, and did any other panelists have any quick things they wanted to add before we wrap up for today?
No, but there was a quick question about an English test. Elise was saying, does everyone need to take that English test at the beginning if we've already fulfilled the English classes at a community college?
I
think everyone has to take a writing too, right?
They go over all of this in summer orientation. I'm not sure if people have done that yet.
Oh, I don't think that has started, but also that might look different now.
I think everyone has to take writing too.
Yeah.
And I think there's only like a test if you're like a foreign language student, but I think you have to take that to get admitted into UCLA.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to take an English test besides the classes that you have to take.
Yeah, usually like for like entry level writing requirements, they'll like base it off of like your SAT score or something like that, or like if you've taken the AP class, or yeah, if you've taken the community college course. So there's a lot of different ways to satisfy the entry level requirement.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we're back to Simone and we're going to wrap it up for today.
Yes, so a round of applause, a virtual round of applause for all of our panelists today. You all did such an amazing job. I did want to remind you all that we do have a Facebook group for you. So the Facebook group is called UCLA Students from Rural Areas and Small Towns, and the website is bit, which is bit.ly/RST Facebook group. So we'll put it in the chat again one more time for you to just click and go. But if you just type in UCLA Students from Rural Areas and Small Towns, you'll be able to find it. If you have any particular questions, then you can always email the first year experience office. We are located within residential life, but we're everywhere. So our email is firstyearexperience@orl.ucla.edu. So this recording will go in the Facebook group, and eventually we'll have some space on our First Year Experience FYE page for you. So please be on the lookout for that. Other than that, we thank you all so much for coming, and we hope you enjoyed. Have a good rest of your week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much,
Bye
everyone.
guys, congratulations.
Find us in the Facebook group.